whichever masjid may be. And we also would want to be informed about some of the challenges you face. You know, you may not may not have the answers, or you may not need any answers, but to make us aware of some of the issues that come up in your homes with your kids. It'll be good for us. We may also not know how to address it now, but something for us to ponder over and research and try and find more information. I appreciate that a lot, and it's oftentimes when I'm asking questions, I would say straight, give me a few days, let me go find out more about it and think about it, and let me ask around, other scholars or go online and stuff like that. So we'd also like to hear of some of the things you face, some of the issues when it comes to the family.
And then I have 2 questions from downstairs.
Sure.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh Ayuba, and one comment again with the permission of the scholars here. In our own upbringing of children in the community and all that, masjid is the center, that we always believed would provide answers to things that the parents may not have. And masjid is a place where you integrate knowledge and put it into practice. So encouraging the parents to take their children to the masajids close by and participating in school activities and Sunday schools, and at least making them realize that there are places which they can learn, not just at home, but also the masajids and Sunday schools. That's one point I wanted to make. The second point that comes to my mind is we should not go into comparative religion at this stage with the children. I think it's important for us, with all due respect to my seniors and the speakers here, I think we should focus on Islam. What is Islam teaching? Not negating the point that Judaism is different, Christianity is different. That is not our point. That is left to the scholars and left to the people that maybe when they grow up they realize what are the differences. We as parents have a duty towards saying, what does Quran say? What does Sunnah say? What does the Seerah say? And that should be the focus. Any comments on that point, number one? Number two, because if we focus on multiple things, then the children at a very young age will be very confused and will not know what to do. They will probably have to tell them that this is what Islam teaches. This is what is required of us to do what Islam teaches, what Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad preached us and wanted us to do. Instead of saying that, maybe I'm wrong, but this is what Christians do or the Jews do and all that. We need to be perfect in our own methodology and the tenets of Islam. Comments on that from both scholars.
Bismillah. Jazakumullah khairan. Dr. Mujib Ahmed. So, I think in a Muslim context, that makes sense, like in a Muslim world. But growing up myself, my father, he said, the society around you is going to exhibit aspects of kufr. And it's going to for these reasons. And your Islam is your fitrah. And your Islam is guidance because of these reasons. And when I went out into the world, I could see that. If the message is relativism, like just focus on your Islam, it doesn't matter what other people are doing, maybe they're right. Implicitly, but see, Islam, and this is my understanding growing up, and this is how I see it in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't tell us that other religions are correct. Quite the opposite. Okay, the Christians who are saying that Isa is the son of God, they are kuffar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that. I'm not saying that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, right? So this is something that we have to understand. And I understand, we don't want to be negative towards other people, but kids in this environment growing up, it's so corrosive. If they don't understand why they believe and what other people who are not believing in Islam, why it's false what they believe, then you're starting off on a losing battle. Okay? That's my, now, Imam Shahid maybe completely disagree with that, and that's completely fine, but I just wanted to,
It's a reflection of Surah Kafirun,
yeah.
where, we still have to come back to our own religion. Where,
Yes, Surah Kafirun.
Yeah, I mean, you have to focus on what our religion teaches.
Definitely, focus, I agree with that, yes.
And so, if we are not strong in our own religion, and
Yes.
our principles, like you just mentioned, doing salah on time, doing this, if we negate and we are focusing on something that they will learn in due course, but Ya ayyuhal kafirun, that surah is so powerful where we may have to reflect on say, to them it's their religion versus our religion.
I'll let Imam Shahid respond.
So Dr. Naveed, referring in particular to the end of Surah Al-Kafirun that says, Lakum dinukum waliya din. After your discussion with them, basically you're coming back to say, you have your religion or your deen and we have ours. But going back to the first point of your question, the second one, the first one was about, and now let's address the first one. It's so important, the role of the masjid in our lives, and our school, Islamic school, or the Sunday school, or anywhere where there's classes and programs where our kids can benefit from, and adults too, because we said we want to be good role models. So we shouldn't expect them to attend a halaqah, and we don't as parents. We send them to some program, but we're not involved. We drop them off at Sunday school, and we go out and do something else, shopping or picnicking or something. That's disheartening to the child. It's like, why can't I do that too? But if you, like at Masjid Bilal, for example, we have a halaqah for the parents at the time the kids are in Sunday school. If you are in that halaqah and your child knows that while they're in the Sunday school in the next building, that gives them a lot of encouragement to stay on in the school and to keep going and doing it and come back every Sunday because they see you also keen in learning, right? So, and many of the imams are saying this in this country. It's becoming like an important talking point. Every family should think about going as a family once a day to the masjid. Now, some of the imams, I think, to be more realistic, are saying depending on how far away you live from the masjid. I know in this part of the state, some people live quite far away from one masjid, from the closest masjid. Depending on how far away you live from the masjid, you as a family, maybe as an individual, you want to go 2, 3, 5 times a day to the masjid. As a male, especially, right, adult male. But as a family, many of our imams are saying you must go at least once a day to the masjid as a family. That's a big challenge, right? And if you live a little too far away, then every few days, or at least once a week as a family to the masjid. Because the role of the masjid in our lives, American Muslim lives, is very central, is very critical. The role of the masjid in our lives. Alright, and just even if there's no programs at all that the masjid is offering, at least going as a family to pray together. There's a common saying with even the other Christians is, if you pray together, you stay together, you pray together, both ways work, right? And so, we should keep that in mind, not undermine that role that anywhere where education or guidance is being provided. When it comes to, say, days that the kids are not in school, it's a summer vacation or it's a holiday, it's imperative that the family goes together, or at least one of the parents takes the kids, because they might be at work or something, in a different part of town, to the masjid. That connection to the masjid must be nurtured from a very early age. But, coming back to the second point, I think we need to, of course, start with basics. That's very important. And most of us know some basics about Islam. And sometimes, as the kids get older, they challenge us on what they exposed to in school, and it may be beyond our scope. So also realize individually, our own shortcomings or lack of knowledge. I would be surprised if many parents would know comparative religion and be able to compare, truly, honestly, the theological differences not just what people are doing, but what the religions teach. So you're right, we should focus, on our own deen, but there will be times we have to also satisfy the inquiries of our children and the inquisitiveness. You can't brush it aside. And in that case, we should know if you have limitations, say, let's go and talk to the Imam about it. Don't say, this is the wrong thing you will ever say, is you go and talk to the Imam about it. Do it together with your children. Parents and children, come together to the masjid, or go to a scholar, go to Imam, go to someone more knowledgeable, maybe in your family, and have a discussion together, because I think it's quite dangerous if we just sweep everything under the carpet and, if you tell our kids, we're not going to talk about that, or you don't provide them an answer, they're going to feel that Islam is lacking in providing a solution, if we have that attitude. So we do want to, address some of the issues that they bring up. If you cannot do it yourself, it's fine. There's things I cannot answer myself. Be honest, People text me or they ask questions and I say, I'm going to come back to you later, because I need time also to go and find the answer, or to get a more inclusive answer, or to get a more correct view on it than what I think may be the case. So that's an important point, and we won't spend too much time.
One comment on this one.
Okay.
This one, sorry. Personally, me, I'd like to thank Abu Mustafa. Brother Ali asked this question about the history of this place, right, this morning. 2 minutes I'll take. May Allah give Abu Mustafa, Dr. Badr, long healthy life for him and his whole family. He provided, with Allah's grace, this opportunity for our children and for the communities, this masjid. And to us, as we are growing up, and as we were growing up here, 25, 27 years, one thing that was very important for us as parents was, parents took part in teaching the children and other children. In the Sunday school, the school that you just saw was a school that was performing for almost 10th grade. So the youngsters here should take example from this masjid and this community, where we had a regular school, teachers, and we had a Sunday school that was very, I'm not going to use the word powerful, but very inclusive, involving the children. And whose duty is that? I'm sorry, it's not the Imam, it's the parents. So coming back to your answer, it's a very long story, and you have to sit down with Mustafa Amir to get all the answers. But this masjid is an example for the whole United States, and Abu Mustafa is a good example. So remember him in his du'as, but that's what I wanted to come in.
So I have,
Thank you, Jazakallah khairan.
I have 3 questions from downstairs.
Should I ask all the 3 together or one by one?
One by one.
One by one? Okay. So question number 1, if we find classmates that are indulged in same-sex relationship type of issues, how do we react to those people who are our classmates? How should we feel towards them? So, excellent question. The deen of Islam is one that, first of all, the Prophet ﷺ is the Prophet for all of humanity. His ummah is his ummah includes, there's the ummah of da'wah, and then there's the ummah of qabul. Okay, so there's the ummah that is those who have accepted the message, and then there's the ummah that has not yet accepted the message. Okay, that means that everybody, since the Prophet ﷺ's bi'athah, everybody on earth is part of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, that means that all of those people who are, whether they have incorrect aqidah, okay, whether they're mushrikun, whether they're kuffar, they're all part of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so we don't have any animosity to a particular person. As Muslims, we don't have any animosity to any particular person. However, actions that are reprehensible, if they are against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then there are ways in which we will react or understand those. Okay, and that's called al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy 'anil munkar, commanding the right, forbidding the wrong. Okay, either a person does it with their hand or their tongue, or they hate it in their heart. Now, in this context that we live, we do not have any authority whatsoever to change anyone's belief or what they do. Okay, so if there's something reprehensible that we don't like, we dislike it in our heart, but we don't dislike the person. We don't dislike the person. That person is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are a human being. They are just the fact they're a human being is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored them with the karama of being Bani Adam. Okay? So, but if someone is saying something wrong, then if it's going to harm someone, we can say that that's wrong. Okay? But we don't hate that person. Now, there's another aspect to this question, which is something that relates to suhbah, which is companionship. There's suhbah and ishra. Ishra is just what we deal with people. Suhbah are those people we intend to take as companions in our life, as exemplars and people that we want to benefit ourselves from spiritually. So someone who is exhibiting some aspect that is reprehensible, and that's just one aspect. There are many people that do things that are reprehensible in the eyes of the Sunnah that we do lots of times have many engagements with all the time. Okay? But we don't choose someone who is disobeying Allah as suhbah. We don't choose them. That means we don't choose to spend time with them to benefit from them. But we respect them, okay, based on their being a human being, being someone who is part of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, who has not yet accepted or understood the message, but we hope that they will.
I feel I don't need to add anything from the way you've covered it. And it's a typical and common question that's being asked in imams, and scholars have given us the same answer. Basically, if I summarize it just to make it a little more clearer, we have to treat them well for who they are as human beings. Sometimes we have to be empathetic towards them because it's maybe an issue they're struggling with, and with our little support and our guidance about, because first of all, the questioner didn't say if that other persons or individuals are Muslims or not. They could be Muslim. There is that situation too, right? And so, we have to keep the door open always for them to come back to the true teaching of Islam. No matter what the problem is or whatever the type of, sin or crime is involved, we always have to, allow, some kind of reform to take place and be a part of that solution. And so, sometimes we have to understand the situation they find themselves in, that turmoil they're going through, the misunderstandings they have, and not to shut the door, because that might lead to even more evil or more problems. And as Dr. Ayub said, it's about really, hating the action rather than the person. That's what Islam is about. Whatever the action may be, that's what Islam teaches. And if you want to make a positive change when people are going wrong, then we show by example, or we tell what the teachings are, and we leave it up to them, which is back to that same ayah, lakum dinukum waliya din. This is what we believe. This is what we have. And if you want to choose the other way, there are consequences for all of us, good or bad, and we make our choices. So it's just two more.
Question number 2, I think this is related to Dr. Ayub's talk. Can you elaborate on what you mean by abdicate? Okay.
Sure. So, Jazakumullah khair. So, abdicate means that you leave, give up. Yeah, sorry. You give up your authority. Okay. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that parents have authority over their children. So then, the parent abdicates their authority by giving up the right to tell their children what they expect of them, what they want of them, and to say, well, you can do whatever you want. Okay. that would be abdicating.
Last question. What is a good answer for hijab for my daughters? What is good? What is a good answer to give when someone asks us about why you are wearing a hijab?
Which is a simple answer. You know, another question would be, how do I help my daughter to wear the hijab and all that? That's a bigger. Was that's on fire?
No, so I think people asking why.
People are asking, which alhamdulillah, first of all, you know, just to have our sisters, our daughters, you know, members of our community, the sisters to wear the hijab, you know, it takes a lot of courage on their part. You know, we have to appreciate that they are also obeying the line in a way where men are not asked to do. It's not an easy thing to wear hijab in this society and to keep it on, you know, in spite of what they face, especially, you know, in some places and at different times when there's a rise in Islamophobia and that. So, you know, that's one big hurdle that many sisters are actually struggling with. Either when do I, or if I should wear hijab, or those who already have it, I'm not so sure if you should still keep it on certain, you know, work environments. So, you know, I know that's not part of the question, but I just want us as males especially, and even if we are just, you know, members of the community who don't have sisters in the household with hijab or, you know, without any siblings, but especially if we have our own women in our household or daughters who have decided to wear it, that's in itself a great blessing. That, inshallah, even with little input from you, you know, that they've put that on. Then the question will come, you know, by others, especially non-Muslims, but sometimes even from Muslims. And we can also, from time to time, and maybe you always have had, even Muslims would say, you know what, why are you wearing a hijab to another Muslim sister? Like, it's not really a requirement. That's what some of them will say. No, don't quote me on that. That's an inverted commas. They're going to say, well, you know, the teachings of Islam doesn't make it a necessity or an obligation. That's their own view. That's an incorrect view. Alright? Those who are not wearing it, right, because of, you know, some other reasons, not because they say it's not a requirement, for some other reasons, personal reasons, you know, whatever it may be, that's a different story. We're not condemning them. You know, we all are of sin. We all, you know, seek Allah's forgiveness. We all make mistakes, and we shouldn't. Just like, you know, we were talking about the first question that came out that we brought up. Same thing with our sisters, you know, Muslim sisters in the community that don't wear hijab. Do not treat them bad. Do not treat them differently from someone you treat as who wears a hijab. Don't look at them differently. Don't look at them, you know, don't look down upon them. Don't you be the judge and the jury of their hijab. Leave that to Allah. You know, try to help them in the predicament they find themselves, because a lot of them are struggling. When do I wear it? Why do I wear it? Should I wear it? Is it a compulsion? Try to help them to understand it, especially if they're asking the questions. But I'm not there digressing, right? So the question will come from non-Muslims mostly, you know, and I think part of the answer is that, you know, this is the requirement of Christ for Muslim women. We do it for different reasons. Often, you know, the first answer to many of the questions is we should say, because that's what our religion teaches us. That's what it requires. Why do you pray 5 times a day? Because Allah has asked us. That's part of the answer. That's the starting point. And then there are other things you can add, you know, the benefits of it, you know, the wisdom behind it, whatever's been mentioned by others, or through your own personal experience, you know, of being treated better if you wear a hijab, not being, you know, objectified as a woman if you didn't have it on, you know, and it helps you feel more comfortable as a sister, as a woman who wears it in your workplace or outside your home, in how, you know, you interact with people. That, you know, you find that it brings you closer spiritually, it takes you to a higher level, you know, you feel more comfortable because you have obeyed Allah's command, you feel more at peace with yourself, because isn't that what Islam is, right? Finding peace, salam, and different answers, you know, so